Here we go. It is the local support kick-off meeting, possible retro, what have you. Lots of things have been going on. I guess we can start with something similar to what we did yesterday, and what I generally do. Just go through and check in on people of what things they've got, if anything related to the local support project that are on their minds and need sorting out. Just bring up there. So we start with Brent. Yeah, anything that you need help with or need to get unblocked, or any suggestions, what have you?
No, the only thing that's I'm sort of is all the deprecated messages and errors I'm getting in the when running the tests. I think it'd be good for us to get to the bottom of that as soon as we can.
Yeah. Okay.
But apart from that, no, I'm okay. I think. I was blocked earlier today, but I had a session with Matthias, and in the process of explaining to him what I'm trying to achieve, I came up with the solution. So that was really useful. Yeah.
Yay, Pepper for the win. All right. Oh, that's great. Yeah. So if you think of anything else, don't hesitate to shout out. Nick, how are things going with you?
Good. Everything's going good. I had a chance to take a look at the Do It API yesterday, and I was mostly interested to see if there was an easy way to implement the Twitter feed, which there kind of is, but yeah. So like they sort the when we ping the API, they send us a sorted list back with the newest ones on top. So we could actually leave everything that's how it is and just set up a tweet task to grab the most, to see if the latest one is within the last 24 hours. Oh, okay. We would know if there is new tweets. But I mean, it would be nice to probably refactor it also. And it's just preferences, I guess.
Sure.
So.
Okay, cool. Well, great that you've got access to that. Anything else on your mind?
Let's see. Oh yeah. So yeah, if I were to refactor it, I was thinking, so there'd have to be a way to iterate through the request and update our. I guess the hardest thing would be to delete the old ones because, but if we were to iterate through them, we would have to mark all of our local vol-ops either as being touched or recently updated, and then we could easily just delete all the ones that haven't been touched or updated in the last 24 hours. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. It's a shame that if we need to adjust the updated date for our local ones, I mean,
yeah,
the simple thing would just be to exclude the local ones from the, the sweep, so to speak.
Okay, I see.
But so yeah, we could potentially look at that more closely. I think you and I've got a pairing session coming up next week. But yeah, definitely something to look at together. Michael, do you have anything on the local support project? You're just hanging out?
No, I don't have anything to add right now. But...
Yeah. I was just listening to episode 2 of our podcast where you said a lot of interesting things about the project. But yeah, I'll leave that as a teaser trailer for people to check out episode 2 of the Agile Book Club podcast, where Michael has a lot of interesting things to say. From my point of view, I was very pleased to have the pairing session with Fatima using this new C9, and we were able to get her in and set up and not needing a credit card. So that's wonderful, I think. I then spent a time stumbling over getting the thing set up on C9. which I think we won't have that in future. But also, Brent, you did in the session yesterday. That's what you worked through, getting things set up on C9. Ultimately, you got everything set up on C9 following the instructions?
Yeah, everything seems to be okay. We sort of ran out of time. There were a couple of tests that were failing, which we still need to investigate. But the problem was in C9, when there's multiple people, you lose the back scroll and things.
Yeah. Oh, it's a real pain, isn't it?
So we decided to, as we finished, we reran the test suite and outputted it to a file so that we can get back to it and scan through the file.
Yeah.
But I can't remember, Nick, was it something like 6 or 7 failures? But we think most of them were just timeout failures or related to the QT.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's about 6 or 7 failures. And I took a look at the output, the HTML output that Federico set up, and there were, some timeout errors, but then there were also some other errors that I hadn't noticed before that had to do, but there were some other errors that were not related to the timeout. I forget what they were.
Were they the WebKit ones?
I think it was something different.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So hopefully, go on.
But yeah, no. Apart from those failing tests, it all seemed to work okay. We were able to start the all the date. There was no database issues, nothing like that. It was relatively smooth actually.
Yeah.
The process.
Yeah, good show. Yeah. So we've got now. So we've got this Agile Ventures team, and so we've got like the instance that I was working on with Fatima yesterday is this local support share 3. Oh gosh, and so I guess this is one that I originally requested with, oh gosh, I got these two, like I've got a different email that manages my C9 as opposed to the one that manages the team as like my original one, and they're kind of like both members of the thing but not transparent. But so what I'm imagining is going forward is that we would have like a number of these just like local support boxes on C9 all ready and set up to go, so that if one wants to do a mob session or a group session or whatever, you can just jump in there and get it all working. But I feel like we're still. So what was the name of the instance that you used?
Just bear with me a second. I will bring it up and have a look.
I wonder.
Oh, actually, it's in the local support channel. If you just look back.
Oh, yeah.
Where are we? So it's the local support-pairing.
Right. Oh yes, and Vardy B. Yeah, got that there.
But I created it through the team, so it should be listed under the team dashboard.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I'm still getting used to these dashboards. Yeah, what's annoying here is that even though you've created it, that as an admin, I don't have. Well, actually, I'm looking at it there. That's actually not my admin account. Hopefully, if that's in a different browser. Okay, yeah, it looks like. But even then, even though I'm an admin, it's being created through there. I still have to like request access for it. That was one of the other things I was hoping to get was not have this process of like if the original person isn't available, we end up getting locked out. But yeah, and when I go to Agile Ventures, okay, so there, yeah, it does actually appear there.
Yeah.
Interesting. But so, yeah, There's still some way to go there to get all the things that we want. But
I've granted you access anyway. But
lovely. Yeah, but so yeah, hopefully what we can do is, like if we each create our own one and they're all associated with the Agile Ventures team, and then there'll always be at least one for available that people need to use. The previous day I actually spent working with Lian Zong and the pull requests there on local support, and I kind of got to the bottom of like this sort of strangeness. You may remember there's this long running pull request, which I think I've now fixed up and sorted out. Yeah, so I guess the other things on my mind are that, so like, merging in old pull requests. I guess it's also NSV's Rails 5 thing is like a big ongoing thing. I worry that he's going to like run out of steam, and then we'll be left with a thing that we can't use. But we will see. I wonder if the most effective thing for us to do is like I would like to kind of look at so two things here. One is to look at this with you, Brent, and see where we are with that. And then the other thing is maybe Nick, we can have a quick look at this thing. I don't know that we need to get any. Is there urgency to get any tickets voted on?
No, I mean I've added a new one today, but I've mentioned in the ticket that it's to be done post the click-through PR 528, because I think doing it before is just going to confuse things. Yeah.
Oh, the other thing that I am having that I saw with Lianzong, and I kind of explored further with Fatima, is that I'm getting a very strange error locally. There's like a strange date time issue locally for me, which I think is maybe connected to this. And we were looking at this thing when we were talking about it with Stomatius, and Brent, you saying that we thought it had been fixed. And I was sort of cautioning, I think I may be still encountering it in some situations on my machine. I've got a very odd error now for, I'll just mention it, like, so, yeah, I have got on, this is on this branch for searching local events, and everything passes in a couple of different C9 instances and on the CI, but when I run it locally on my system, I end up getting like a very strange time zone difference. Here is the error, in fact. So this is the test. It sets up, it creates these events with certain dates. It fails for me and no one else. You see here, like the date that seems to be appearing on there. What's his start date? Yeah, it's saying there like 9:30. Like an hour before this one, and that says 10:30.
Weird.
It's like it's looking for this text here, but what it's getting is that it's getting the correct. It's getting the there's a start date in there, but it's for an hour earlier.
How is that date set in the test? Is it just?
Well, so yeah, let me show. So it's using this, the following events. Like originally for Octopinky and Lianzong, they had kind of like a vacuous test where they were trying to stick in some dates and they were just ending up being nils, and that's why it was broken. And I came in and we've got the step definitions now in the event steps. So I added this, like if you want to kind of like have, oh wait a sec, that's weird. I thought that's very strange. I could have sworn that we had the start date and end date set up as kind of like, was I looking at something else? That was like, that it said was the 1 day ago and 3 days ago and so on. And I added this like chronic thing that would parse English language descriptions of dates of like, relative dates. And now I'm looking at this and I'm seeing, oh, these start dates are now in, this very explicit time format. There was basically a huge kind of craziness to do with Octopinky and Lianzong had commits on their C9 instance that hadn't been pushed to the branch, and they hadn't pulled down things from the develop branch, and they weren't up to date, and it was all kind of a mess. But so the funny thing is that, but it passes on the CI, and it passes on C9. Like if I run this, we were running this test here, like so. Oh wait, so yeah, that's the second one there, 19 there. when we run this test here, that passes just fine. It sees the 1030 based on the 1030, implying that there's some kind of, and we're on the same commit here. Like if I do git log, this is on C060 log here. It was on this is now what I did yesterday with Fatima. But the diffs, it was passing yesterday. I mean, the changes that we made are trivial ones. See, did Fatima push that to the branch? She maybe did not. So git push origin. That. Okay, but so anyway, I probably spent more time on that than we should with the group of us in the meeting. There's some kind of weirdness going on for me is a big thing, and I assume there's some sort of setting of some kind somewhere. But if it's all passing and other people aren't getting failures, then I guess I'm tempted to merge it in. So that's anybody has any thoughts about. Let's move on. Brent, do you want to show me what deprecation messages that you're seeing?
Yeah. Let me just share my screen.
And this is you're getting deprecation warnings when you run the specs or the cucumbers?
The cucumber, yeah.
Oh, it's the cukes. Okay. Okay. I'd love to get to the bottom of these Google API error over query limits at some point. We've got this whole separate like Sinatra server that I wonder. Right. So the we're actually we don't have any deprecation warnings for the RSpec, but so for the and you're this is then here on you're running on your branch.
Yeah, I get it on both branches though. Develop. I should have.
Is it these ones that you're showing? We're seeing here. It's saying deprecated.
No, these are them now.
Code ones.
Yeah, they'll come. There'll be hundreds of them soon.
Right. Yes. Now, so I was chatting with NSV about this briefly, and he was talking about downgrading a gem or what have you, and I was saying, well, but can we stay on the gem? Do we like? Can we work out the change that we need to make that will, like presumably we're getting this deprecation because those language codes are used somewhere in one of our other gems,
right? Yeah, when Nicholas said yesterday, it was something to do with the bootstrap. He thinks the date picker, but he didn't go into much more details.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not finding. Okay. Well, I'm getting very strange. Oh, I guess this is giving me like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a message. It says there it's inside date picker. So we've got a date picker gem, have we?
I believe so. Oh, I don't know if it's a gem, but we're definitely using date picker.
Right. Did you recently added a date picker?
No, it was already there.
It was already there.
I reused it.
It looks like we have a bootstrap date picker Rails gem that we're using.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So maybe that just needs upgrading. I mean, maybe there's going to be a whole this, that, and the other.
Yeah, I think Nicholas was saying we were on the most recent. I think he was suggesting we downgrade. But
right. I mean, I guess yeah. So obviously it's not. It's irritating to have those things in the logs, and we would like to get them clear. They're mentioning 171 there. What does our gem file.lock say? Bootstrap date picker rails 1.7.1.1. I mean, of course, there's also this thing here of like, I see that there's multiple Bootstrap date picker rails. I mean, there's the gem thing. Okay, yeah. So I mean, there's been releases recently as August this year, but I guess what's not clear to me is, I presume that the deprecation warning is coming from like the new version of Ruby interacting with this or something. Do you know what I mean? Like I assume there's an interaction here. Let's have a look at the homepage for this links to, yeah, it is this Nerian one here. I mean, we could open an issue here. Deprecation problem was closed on 21st September. Unlimited deprecation warnings. Okay, so okay,
that's the one. Yeah,
there we go. Unlimited deprecation. Okay, yeah, it's annoying. It will be gone in 2.0, but in the meantime, you could manually select the locales you wish to include, like this. Okay, so that looks like that's the solution. Yeah, so like replace this line, which loads all locales before these lines.
Right.
So can I maybe, I'll put that in the thing. Maybe Brent, you could try that out and see if that works for you locally.
Yep.
I'll put that in the Slack, and then yeah. So yeah, I mean, anybody who can remove unwanted things from the testing logs will have my undying gratitude. I've managed to do a fair amount of it in website one. One day I'll have lots of free time, but yeah, so very much appreciated. So let's maybe then go on to here. So with Nick is also earning my undying gratitude because he's looking at helping us actually get this pull request closed out and so on. And you've been doing your research about doing. You set it up very cleverly in Pivotal Tracker to indicate a sort of a blocker here on doing that, which was like refactoring daily tasks to distinguish the new events. Yes, and so shall we come back to that item of discussion here? It's about how to delete things more effectively. Do you want to go? You're already sharing your screen, Nick. You want to show us some of the code and talk us through what you're thinking?
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, we could leave all the code how it is, where it just deletes everything and recreates everything, and then we could just have a Twitter task on Heroku that just pings the API and grabs the most recent edition, because the first one that comes back will be the newest opportunity, and if that newest opportunity was created on the Do It API within the last 24 hours, and we know that there are new opportunities available to look at on our system as well. Or yeah, we could go ahead and refactor it, which is probably the best thing to do, because I don't think it's all that, I don't know. I mean, it's, as far as time, I mean, I'm sure we're only looking at like 30 or 40 responses that we cycle through. As far as time complexity, I think they're both, whether or not we're deleting everything or just updating the ones we pull, it's probably the same amount of time complexity we're dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think performance is not a concern for us at this stage.
Right.
I feel like the shame of us deleting them each time is that we end up with no indication in our system of how long something has been around. I mean, I don't know if when we hit the Do It API and we get some data back, does it tell us when the item was originally created?
So yeah, so it should. So yeah, according to the API here, so these will be ordered from newest to oldest. And then yeah, everything here, it should have created date, and it will also have an updated date right here.
Okay, yeah, for their site. Okay, no, that makes sense. I mean, I guess, and so that's then I probably shouldn't care about that, because we can, in principle, when we're inserting it into the system, and it looks like, yeah, we are actually doing that. We are setting the updated at to be equivalent to the or at least setting some sort of thing like that. I mean, although of course, you know, for like in terms of consistency on our system, the updated at. I mean, they have different meanings in our context than the remote context, but I guess the other thing is Brent, you're working on how you're implementing this click-through.
Yeah.
And is that creating that's a separate click-through table, is it?
It is, yes.
And is it going to have a foreign key relationship to the volunteer ops?
It hasn't at the moment, no.
So when somebody clicks through on a particular link, we just store the full URL.
We do, yes.
What's been clicked through on?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so that's easy in the first. I was thinking, I mean, and given that we are currently deleting them and blowing them away, like, you know, having a foreign key relationship would be problematic. So
yeah, but also because I've created the helper, we don't just have to use them for volunteer hop links. It could be used for any link that takes you away from the site.
Right. Which is well, that's great. So I think in that case, yeah, I don't think we've got anything that stops us from refactoring it, Nick. I guess I wonder if thinking of it in terms of the agile approach. I think that the simple. I mean, I guess you're even imagining having a separate task that wouldn't involve this. It would be a separate job that pings the API completely independently of this service pinging the API and then sending out some tweets.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. Yeah, we could ping the API again, or I mean, if we do the refactor, then we could just grab ours and check when it was last. Check the most recent ones and see if they were created or updated within the last 24 hours.
But it seems to me, I'm not saying it's the right way to do it, but even if we added it into here so that we only ping the API once, there's no requirement to do the refactor in order to use that technique that you've just described. Like,
right. Yeah, if we just exactly. Yeah, we don't have to do a refactor. We really don't. It just depends how we want our data displayed. Right? Do we care about when it was created or updated?
Well, I think you mean the data that we store in our local database for local support.
Right, because every time we create it, according to the persist do it vol ops, we're not using their created date. I mean, I guess we could use their created date, but
we could do. Yeah, I mean, and I think that's, you know, what I would say is that I'm unsure about what our needs are there. The thing that I'm trying to think about is from the perspective of the end user, like the tweeting of the things. I mean, I think Do It already tweets their own things on their own Twitter feeds. I don't know if you've looked at that at all.
I have not.
I say that because we did have one person kind of come to us through that they could have saw an advert that then got tweeted, and I guess I'm thinking about, in some ways, we want to not just drive traffic to you know, doit.org. I mean, I guess the simplest thing would be to be just having a process that then tweeted the Do It stuff on our own thing, and it would basically, we'd have a version of the, I don't know if Do It have a particular what's it called? If they have a particular volunteering feed that I don't necessarily know about, I'm just looking at their main Twitter feed, which doesn't seem to, I mean, you know, wouldn't essentially be all of their volunteering stuff. I mean, it could just be that other people push them out there. I'm just sort of thinking that in some ways we would love to be able to, the links that would go into the things that we tweeted would be links to our site, and you'd sort of see our site with the map, and you'd see where the thing was in the context of the local area.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
if you were more interested, you would go on. And so, you know, it's sort of, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I mean, they would want me to redirect them towards our site, but either, you know, it just depends on how we display the Twitter. I assume it would just depend on how we display the Twitter feed. Or
yeah, well, and I guess we've got the issue of what, like, let's say that there were 4 new volunteering opportunities in the area. I mean, actually, as far as our site is concerned, we don't currently have a way of displaying like a subset of volunteer opportunities, or we can show, like, I guess if we do a search for something, I think this is actually NSV and Brent maybe fixed this. That's now like the search does end up showing, like, here is this thing with you know, the map gets updated now, which is great. And this, so for example, here is that a link? That's a reach skills. That's reach skills. That's do it. Okay, interesting. And in there I think we've got the same opportunity being posted to us both from do it and from reach skills, but in different. Is it actually in? Interesting. So look, so we've got this one. We've got this coming in from this Heath Robinson Museum with a location in the map, and then we've got this one from Do It, and they don't have the location. And then we have it here again from Do It, and this one does have like, we've got the same.
Oh yeah.
Item there twice. I wonder if that anyway. But so yeah, I guess. So we've got a thing there is that at the very high level, we want to be precise about what it is that we tweet out. Like, that's the kind of the equivalent of the interface sketch that we kind of need for this feature. And I guess the simplest thing to do is to just tweet the latest Do It things, and maybe, because I'm starting to imagine like a way to like have a URL that points to a set of volunteers, right? Like the newest ones, or new in the last 24 hours.
Okay.
And that in the long run, we might actually be tweeting that out. But I think probably what we want to do is quickly get we want to, rather than putting other things kind of in the way, maybe the thing to do is the path of least resistance, which is create you know, another task that can be fired off. I guess in this current one, I'm looking at your screen now and looking at the code here. It's looping through each of these opportunities, and it's saying, like, next if the local origin. Okay, that's just checking for the things. I mean, it risks just making it more complex here, but it could be just saying, okay, you know, if the created date was in the last 24 hours, then tweet it, couldn't it? Like in between line 42 and 43, even actually between line 41 and 42. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, it doesn't reduce the complexity of our method,
right,
at all. Although I think that really the way to clean up that persist do it follow-ups method would be that mapping that's in lines 44 to 52 would be defined separately, right? That should be we could like extract a method there, that, you know, relationship there that's effectively inside that find or create by do loop.
Right.
It's not a loop. It's kind of like a, yeah. Anyhow, so yeah, I think trying to think big picture about the project, like in order to try and get this the thing closed out, it sort of pains me because I think we always want to be refactoring and improving code. At the same time, like I think the danger always is if we do anything more than the very simplest thing, we run into the problem that there are things that we haven't anticipated. So by doing the absolutely very, very, very simplest thing, we increase the chances that we actually complete a feature, and then we can come back and do more things, having successfully, cleaned something up, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So shall we try that? Let's try not refactoring as part of this and just adding like there in between line 41 and 42, like we could have like a tweet if new function, and it could even be like a separate service that would tweet, and then we can look at like refactoring. We get that in and see if we can have that all working with VCR and WebMock and everything. That will be the key thing, and then we can do refactoring on the top of it once we're clear that that's all working.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, very happy to work with you on that in a bearing session coming up soon.
Sounds good.
Good stuff.
Well, I also have that what Brent was asking about, that other error that we were seeing the other day.
Oh, yeah.
So it looks like it's a CSS error.
Yeah, this is the measle one. Yeah, Brent, you were having a long period where you were getting that very intermittently on your system.
I still am.
Right. Which is
Yeah.
kind of like a weird backdrop thing. I guess that's your cukes are finished there, and that set of, so there was then the big long set of deprecation warnings. This set of failures you've got here are then all related to the CSS ones. The measle not being present.
On mine, yeah. Well, these ones are related to the new tracking link.
Oh, okay. All right.
I need to redo the test for those because they're for the specific URL where it's now going through the tracking one. But incidentally, I've removed all the deprecation.
Oh, well done. So
I'll make that change later this evening and,
Wonderful.
And push it up.
Yeah. Now the error that Nick is showing there, which is the expected to find CSS measle, my memory is that we had some very complex problems relating to that, to do with the way the VCR cache was like caching stuff that we got from reach data, and then things being out of sync there. But did we try blowing away all of the caching stuff to fix your system, Brent?
We did, and it didn't fix it, unfortunately. We did try all of that. I've yet to get to the bottom of it. I'm just sort of living with it because generally it will pass in the CI. It's just a local thing. Yeah,
and I mean, it's not completely dissimilar to what I've got at the moment with these weird sort of date issues that I'm having locally, but it works in C9, it passes in CI. I kind of often, I don't know, like projects after a certain while just seem to get to the state where you've got stuff that you have to live with. I kind of almost rather than, I mean, the way NSV is doing it is, I think that's probably the sensible and shortest route to get to Rails 5. But I'm almost, particularly with Rails, where it like dumps all of this stuff on your file system, I'm almost tempted to like not rebuild it from scratch, but to like create a new Rails 5 app and then like take things in like one feature at a time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought about that as well. In fact, I was going to do that as a side thing for myself, just to help me learn how local support hangs together, because doing this tracking thing, it's really confusing, some of the things that are being done just to print a link onto the screen.
Yes, and that's I think particularly if they gave it some more funding, that would be, but yes, so something to bear in mind. Presumably one may well get to a point. I think this is what happens to a lot of projects, like as Michael keeps on pointing out. Local support website are not big in the scheme of things. I mean, they're bigger than a trivial toy project, but they're they're not. But you know, when they've got hundreds of programmers working on these things, they get to a point where it just kind of ends up being sludge. You can't change anything without hundreds of other things breaking, and it just, you know, the thing sort of dies and they start over. And of course, we're trying to use the agile approach and testing and this, that, and the other to avoid this. But we've got the changing libraries underneath. Like we've gone Rails 3 to Rails 4 and then Rails 5, and the Ruby's changing and this, that, and the other. Yeah, it would certainly be an interesting experiment to take a clean Rails 5 app and say, like, okay, like the most critical thing that the app must have is it must have the volunteer ops. Let's put that in piece by piece and reassemble it. As I say, even if it was just an exercise. Okay, well, enough me chatting. I think we have got to the bottom of a couple of things there. Go on, Michael.
I was saying that was the dream of the microservice, right?
Would the dream of the microservice would be to make it such that the individual components could be replaced more easily without requiring a complete clean start for the whole thing.
Right, but also that your teams are much smaller too.
Yeah, that you can have
like 4 to 8 people maybe.
Indeed.
So then over time you don't accumulate quite as much source code as quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Although the microservice seems to have become an item of, it's like almost like agile, the term, and like there's some people who think like if it has another database, it can't be a microservice. And gosh, well, it seems to cause no end of grief just talking about it. I still, what was I? Yeah, I still on website 1. I'm almost. I'd love to have like a little getting started React front end that could be pointing to an API. I think having APIs so that the front end is separated from the back end is at least kind of a step in the right direction, maybe. But anyway, anything else that we need to discuss about local support?
I can't think of anything.
This is the new meeting time, which has worked well for us. We will see if other people complain about this being the meeting time. But yeah, let's leave it there, and see you all real soon.
Okay. Thank
Cheers.
you, Sam.
Thanks, then.
Right, thanks, guys. Take care. Bye for now.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
You are building up that record for the future aliens.
Absolutely, there's lots of videos. Well, it's not really for future aliens. It's for the Google AI to kind of like,
AI.
you know, like totally understand humans and decide.
Although it could be the aliens. It's
the aliens. It may be AIs from the Googles of other worlds that come over
it depends on what,
and get here before like the Google from our world AIs can become sentient.
Right.
It's entirely possible. Or maybe like the Google AIs will take over here, but then they'll be like kicked out by other.
Are the AIs going to be? So are the AIs going to be embodied, or are they going to just be disembodied intelligences?
Well, I think, you know, it's like the question about how many Apache Indians are hiding in this room. As many as want to be. I think that the AIs will be able to decide what, you know, what ways in which they materialize or influence us. All right. Well, I think I'm going to go get a drink. Beautiful as always. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.